Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I will be looking at The One Who Weeps by Cynthia Alfonso. This is from Cold Cube Press. It looks like it was originally in a different language. It's translated by Ash Ponders and Aidan Fitzgerald. I'm not sure where Cynthia Alfonso is from or where Cold Cube Press is from. I got this from Glacier Bay Books. I ordered a bunch of stuff from them thinking it was all theirs, but now I'm realizing that they function as a shop or a distributor as well, which is pretty cool. But this, my best guess given the artwork, is that this is a Spanish artist. I'm saying that primarily because I've seen a couple other Spanish artists who have this almost like abstract version of like psychedelic poster art that you would see in the 60s. Maria Medem is the one that is the artist that I really like, and Ana Galvan, both female Spanish artists. So I'm guessing that Cynthia Alfonso probably also fits into that scene because I see a lot of the same just vibes in this, especially Maria Medem, whose translation of her book Zenith I've been waiting for a couple years now. I've had that pre-ordered on Amazon forever, and it just hasn't come over. But this reminds me a lot of her art. It has that poster art vibe to it. And also it's playing with what I keep calling the poetics of form. This is one of the more sophisticated books for that I've seen, but I associate with that little set of Spanish artists this interest in the poetics of form as well. I've seen those same type of diagrammatic things. Looks like they're almost influenced by airplane manuals and IKEA manuals and stuff like that, right? Like here you have the tacks and the screws and the nails and how to put something together, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of the poetics of form I'm talking about stuff. Just how do shapes fit together? How do colors relate to each other throughout a book or throughout a page? How does a rhythm function on a page? What's like the mathematics of a shape unfolding? All of those kinds of things. Those are balanced in this book with so this is a translation, so very little work for the translator to do, but it is balanced out with this like poem that's running basically at the top and bottom of most pages. So I didn't really take much away from the reading of the book. It was definitely a poem. I was much more interested in the visual poetry, this poetics of form that I'm talking about. But there's just a lot of gorgeous stuff going on in here. This looks like a risograph just because it has that texture on it. I don't know if it says anything about it, but it's got a pretty wide variety of colors. So this may be an offset litho thing that's meant to look like a risograph. I don't know, but it has the risograph look to me. Here's a really good example of just like the poetics of form, just like this thing here. That you're basically shifting your camera around it, or it's shifting in front of you. I'm not sure which is it's intended to be. Like it's shifting and opening up, and you can see what's behind it. So that's an interesting. I don't know. Just that page is very interesting to me, and it seems very occult. Like there's some greater truth to it, but I doubt that there is. Here's another really great poetics of form. I love this. This is making me think. There's a lot in here that makes me think of a Henry Moore sculpture, and he's very much a poetics of form person, where if you move around his sculptures, they'll really surprise you, because there's things like in this where you can't see the whole thing, and so you form like a gestalt impression of what's in front of you. And then with Henry Moore, that impression's always disrupted as you walk around it, and it's usually disrupted many times. Like you think it's solid, and you get to a side and be like, oh crap, this has had a hole in it. How could I not see this hole? So this is that same type of thing where you're just seeing, like these three kind of blocks, and then this thing starts to wrap around, and then by the time you get here, right here, this is called the path to surrender. You confront to reveal. You're confronting, let's see, what are we confronting? Malevolence. An abundant malevolence that you confront to reveal the path to surrender. So this is the path to surrender here. But the funny thing is the path to surrender doesn't actually work. When you get around the back, you'll see that the path doesn't connect, so you can't spiral your way up it. And that's packing a lot of meaning into what I think is a fairly simple rotation of an object. And that's why I like this stuff. This stuff interests me quite a bit. This is another really kind of visually baffling example of this that I'm quite enamored with. Here you have these two very, very opposite looking, not opposite, but very different looking images. You wouldn't necessarily think these things are related, but when you really study the forms, you realize that this is the front and this is the back of the exact same object. So if you rotate this, you'll see that there's a square pushing out here with like a bar in it, which is what here. And then there's this big rectangular form down here, and you get this pipe here and this wedge shape, and then this thing over here. So this is either the front side of it or what got taken out of it. And again, there's something about that that I find enormously appealing. And then here you move again, and the suggestion is not just that the image is broken, but this is an entire thing potentially was an illusion. That if you see it from any other perspective, this is how those forms would break apart. So that's what I'm saying. It reminds me kind of a Henry Moore sculpture, but in 2 dimensions. And I don't know, this may just be this thing like actually cut up, because this shows it being pretty solid. But something about the rotational aspect of all of this suggests to me that, or to me, the suggestion is that this thing is actually a flat image, but if you see it from certain angles, it appears 3-dimensional. I'm not sure. There's nothing in the text that suggests that. And then this just suggests that it's like totally reformed itself to show this hallway or something. I don't know. But I don't know what any of it means. It's A, it's really beautiful, and B, I just find it extremely visually appealing. One thing that I found a bit strange about having the text like this is every now and then on a page like this, I'd be like, reading my book and holding it like this, and I'd have to, I realized that my thumb is covering some text. So when I'm talking about poetics of form, one of the things that you could play with when you're playing with poetics of form is the form of the book, like just the actual physical properties of the book, where your thumb lands, like those type of design decisions. And yeah, some people might hold it here and some people might hold it here, but there's a potential for play in there. I think this is just people not thinking about someone might be holding it there. It's strange to put the text down there. So that was the only thing I found bothersome about the book. But other than that, it's just, like, I'll just pick this up and look at it, I'm sure, like many, many, many times a week, just to flip through it, because there's a lot in here like this that really speaks to me, and I don't know 100% why yet, and I just need to keep coming back to these things till I figure it out. So anyways, beautiful book. I get that it wouldn't be for everyone because of the visuals. This type of poetic visuals, these forms and shapes and stuff, is not enough narrative for a lot of people. So if you need a real strong narrative, this isn't for you. But if you can get into just the visuals and the poetry and the beauty of the design and the care and the printing and all of that stuff, this is a really fulfilling book. So I would definitely recommend it. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel, please support us through one of 2 ways. You can go through to our Patreon and support us that way. There's different tiers there where you can have kind of different voting privileges, and you can try and win original art. There's going to be some exclusive content going on there pretty soon as well. And then the best way to support us is to support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the books that he has put out now. Plaza by Yokoyama Yuichi. This is translated by Ryan Holmberg and is very large for a manga, so that's a really cool feature of this book, this standard manga size. And this is just a 200 some odd page representation of what Yokoyama Yuichi thinks of the Carnival parade, and he's just made this like relentlessly loud and rhythmic book that pushes all kinds of amazing boundaries of what comics and manga are, and we could not recommend this book more. Solid Yellow, Path of the Shades by Clarence Doss is a really cool ongoing project that Living the Line will be producing. Clarence is a PhD student from Fiji who's studying the myths of Fiji for his doctoral thesis. And part of that study project is that he's producing these comics. They're kind of like Hellboy, where there's these little short stories that capture all of these different mythologies. But then he's using that to wrap the project into his doctoral thesis. and then provide educational material where people can come to these comics. You know, they don't have to read his PhD thesis. They can come to the comics and get a more consumable version of the mythology of Fiji. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
What's the